Welcome back, you ghoulish bunch of misfits. It's your boy again, Drew. I'm joined by the one and only A-Rod. This week, we'll finish the gruesome case of the infamous Jerry Brudos. We will finally dive deep into the horrific acts he conducts, as well as how he was captured. As always, follow us on all social media platforms, and don't forget to email us any case suggestions you'd like us to cover at contactus@cheeseforthoughtpodcast.com. Get ready, you bunch of spooky freaks and geeks. This is Cheese for Thought Podcast. Thank you for joining us for the first time. If not, welcome back. So we left off in episode 1 with Jerry being arrested while wearing pedal pushers and other items of women's clothing he had stolen from a woman's dorm on a college campus. I looked up what pedal pushers were because I had no idea what they were, and they're what we call in this day and age as capris. Yeah.
See, they totally feel like those would have been a type of shoe. Because like you're pushing the pedal. Yeah, I think that's what we said last time.
Yeah,
but,
I thought it was a shoe. But I guess it makes sense that like they call them pedal pushers because they rode bikes so much back then that they didn't want their pants getting stuck in the gears.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so
okay.
pedal pushers make sense. But yeah, I was like, what the fuck are pedal pushers, man? So not long after Jerry was arrested for stealing pedal pushers is when he conducted his first horrible murder on a young girl named Linda Catherine Slauson. Slauson was a 19-year-old door-to-door Encyclopedia saleswoman from Aloha, Oregon. When Brudos encountered as he was working in his yard on January 26, 1968, she accidentally entered his property, having confused his address with a neighbor's on behalf she had an appointment with the homeowners to potentially sell an encyclopedia. So she walked up, like, wrong address, which is horrible, because if she just went to the right address, horrible things wouldn't have happened. Upon hearing the reason for Slauson's visit, Brudos decided to fake interest in purchasing a set of encyclopedias to lure her to the basement of his home. As Slauson sat on a stool in the basement of the Brudos family home, she began the sales pitch of her encyclopedias. Brudos snuck up behind her and bludgeoned her upon the head with a piece of wood. Like a plank.
Okay.
Yeah, so like he didn't waste no time.
Yeah, there was no time wasted here. Okay.
Slauson would fall to the floor after the blow to the head, and Brudos would then mount her and proceed to manually strangulate her to death. He then dragged her across the basement floor and concealed her body beneath the staircase to the basement. He then ran up the stairs and called his mother and asked her if she wanted to spend some grandma and granddaughter time with her daughter and take her out to get hamburgers so he could have a quiet and non-disturbing house so he can engage in necrophilia with Slauson's body.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how do you... I just don't fathom how you could be like, I want a quiet house. I'm going to call my mom up and see if she wants to take the kids and have some bonding time and hamburgers. Like, it's just fucked up that was his thought process. To, like, use that as, like, what a grandma would love to enjoy doing.
Yeah, and had she known the real reason.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Upon undressing the young woman's body, Brudos discovered Slauson was wearing an attractive red lingerie. This inspired him to retrieve a box of women's underwear and footwear he had accumulated, typically through theft, and repeatedly dressed and redressed her body in different footwear and lingerie, in addition to engaging in repeated acts of necrophilia while photographing much of the process.
Oh, so it gets even worse. He, like, photographed all this stuff, too.
Yeah.
What an idiot. Ugh.
Yeah, he had a huge thing with, like, documenting everything. Hours later, Brudos severed Slauson's left foot from her body with a hacksaw. He placed the foot in the rear of the family freezer located in the basement, with intent to view in future use to make a molding of, to model his collection of high-heeled shoes, and to fuel his masturbating fantasies.
Oh, God. It just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah. He also kept 2 encyclopedias Slauson had hoped to sell him as a keepsake. Pretty much another kill trophy. Brudos later bound the remains of Slauson's body to a heavy cylinder head, which is an engine car part, and discarded her body in the Willamette River in Marin County. Now remember this river because his dumbass kind of keeps on going back to the same place. So his second victim was Jan Susan Whitney. Brudos encountered Whitney, a 23-year-old motorist, as he drove home from a job in Lebanon on November 26, 1968. Brudos later insisted this murder, much like Slauson's, was a crime of opportunity. He had simply encountered Whitney as he drove home from work and observed the 3 individuals standing beside a broken-down Rambler, which is a car, along Interstate 5 between Salem and Albany. After inspecting Whitney's car, Brudos claimed he could fix her vehicle, but would need to drive her to his home to collect the necessary tools. Whitney and her traveling companions, which were hitchhikers she had previously picked up, agreed to accompany him.
Also, it's not just her. Her friends came too.
Well, they weren't friends. They were just hitchhikers she picked up.
Oh, okay.
Previously picked up, agreed to accompany him upon the promise that the 2 hitchhikers would first be driven to their intended destination.
Oh, no. So they ditched those. Oh,
yeah.
No.
The 2 hitchhikers entered the rear of Brudos' vehicle, and Whitney sat in the passenger seat in front next to Brudos. After driving the 2 hitchhikers to their intended destination, Brudos drove Whitney to his home. He pulled into the driveway and parked the car, got out to make it look like he was going to enter the garage to grab tools to fix Whitney's car with. Brudos then discreetly entered the rear of the vehicle as Whitney remained seated in the passenger seat. He then asked her to close her eyes and describe how to tie a shoelace without opening her eyes or moving her hands. Which I thought was, like, nothing...
It's so random.
Yeah. Nothing against the victim. Like, she probably had no idea what was going on. And, like, I don't want to disrespect her or anything, but, like, if someone got out of the car and then randomly got back into the car...
And told you to close your eyes.
And told me to close my eyes and tie a shoelace, I'd been like, what the fuck are you doing back there? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure she, while this was going on, she had no idea. She wasn't thinking anything
No, and she's still pretty young and probably didn't know what was going on.
Whitney agreed to the challenge. Brudos then strangled her from behind with a leather luggage strap before raping her body inside the vehicle. He then dragged her body out of the car and carried her body into the garage, where he dressed her body in different footwear and lingerie before repeatedly engaging in acts of necrophilia with her corpse. It's like this was like this dude's thing, and it's disgusting. Whitney's body was left hoisted from a pulley system from the garage ceiling for 2 days, while Brudos violated her body whenever he felt the need to.
Oh my God.
If you remember from part 1 of the series, his need was medicine for his cure.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, these horrible crimes he was committing was his medicine. That's what he quoted. He stated that's why he started doing all these killings, because he needed to cure himself. Her body was dressed in different lingerie and repeatedly photographed. Brudos also severed one of her breasts with intent to use as a paperweight.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Although the idea was abandoned when he noticed the epoxy hardener he was using failed to fully set. So epoxy hardener is like, it's like a really, really, really strong glue.
Okay.
So in the auto world, you mix it, like when you're doing body work, you take like epoxy and a hardener, and it like glues together body panels. So it's like really, really hard, like 10 times stronger than super glue. Yeah, it wouldn't set, so he like abandoned this whole thing, so it wasn't working out for him. Brudos instead stuffed the breast with sawdust before pinning the organ to a wood board. Which is like, how did you go from epoxy to like stuffing it with sawdust?
Yeah, and then pinning it.
Yeah. So 2 days, this shit is fucking nuts. So 2 days after Whitney's murder, a car crashed into Brudos' garage, knocking a hole in the side wall. A policeman responded to the crash, looked into the resulting damage of the garage, and even went inside the garage. But due to dust debris, darkness, and the fact the hole was on ground level, the policeman failed to observe Whitney's mutilated and suspended body hanging from the rafters.
Oh my gosh, that's like the perfect storm, and then he missed it.
Yeah. That evening, frightened from the almost discovery of Whitney's body, Brudos tied her body to a section of scrap railroad iron and threw her into the Willamette River near the same spot he dumped Slauson's body. Along with Slauson's severed foot, due to the fact that it began to decompose, and he didn't know how to stop it from decomposing further. Yeah.
So he thought he had a great idea and had no idea like that this would happen.
Yeah. So his third murder was Karen Elena Sprinker. Sprinker was an 18-year-old Oregon State University chemistry student abducted at gunpoint from a parking lot outside a Muir and Frank department store while en route to meet her mother for lunch on March 27th, 1969.
Now he's getting ballsy now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Brudos was dressed in women's clothing at the time of the abduction.
Was it the pedal pushers?
I don't know. And had impulsively driven his station wagon into the parking lot after observing a young woman wearing high-heeled shoes and a miniskirt at the location. Having parked his car and attempted to chase this individual, Brudos soon lost sight of her. While walking back to his vehicle, he had noticed Sprinker exiting her car and walking towards the department store. Brudos ran towards her and forced Sprinker at gunpoint to enter his vehicle and accompany him to his home, with Brudos promising not to harm her.
Well, we know how that's not gonna end.
Yeah. According to Brudos, Sprinker repeatedly pleaded with him not to hurt her, adding that once he took her inside his garage, she stated she would do anything he wanted if he did not kill her. In response, Brudo asked her if she was a virgin.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Sprinker replied she was, adding she was experiencing her period at the time as well. Brudos forced her to undress before proceeding to rape her on the garage floor. Sprinker was then forced to pose in different high-heeled shoes and underwear from his collection, while Brudos photographed her in multiple sexual poses.
So this was his first victim that was alive for all this?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is his first one he didn't engage with.
Necrophilia.
Yeah, necrophilia.
Okay.
So she was still alive. Brudos then bound Sprinker's hand behind her back before placing a rope around her neck. He then asked her if the rope was too tight. Sprinker responded that it was. In response, he threw the rope over a ceiling beam and pulleyed, causing Sprinker to be winched from the ground, whereupon she kicked a little and died.
Oh my god, what a horrific thing to picture.
Yeah. And the fact that, like, he's so, like, devilish.
And
with,
condescending.
Like, yeah. Over the following hours, Brudos repeatedly engaged in acts of necrophilia with Sprinker's body. He also severed her breasts so he could form plastic molds with the organs. That evening, Sprinker's body was tied to a V6 cylinder head and thrown in the Willamette River around the same area where he dumped his previous two victims.
Does this guy have like a damn AutoZone in his backyard, or where the hell is he getting all these auto parts?
Well, apparently he would do like side jobs.
Oh, okay. And he would just keep the scrap stuff?
I guess he would just keep it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
I just think it's funny. It's like every single car part. It's like, okay, by the end of it, they're going to find all these bodies in a full-blown car at the bottom of it. It's sad.
So, his fourth victim, right? Fourth one? We're on the fourth?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. was Linda Dawn Saley. Saley was a 22-year-old firm secretary and a part-time Portland student. Sorry, Jesus Christ, and part-time Portland State University student for Beaverton, Oregon. From Beaverton, Oregon. Saley was walking the parking garage. Jesus, dude, I had a stroke.
Do you need a life alert?
I think I do. There's commercials as a kid, life alert. Saley was walking the parking garage when Brudos abducted her from the grounds of the Lloyd Center shopping mall late in the afternoon of April 23rd, 1963. Saley had purchased a pair of slacks and a watch band as birthday gifts for her fiancé from the mall and was returning to her vehicle when approached by Brudos, who deceived her into believing he was a police officer by displaying a fake police badge and informing her she was being arrested for shoplifting. Although Saley argued her innocence, she agreed to accompany Brudos to his vehicle, where she was informed she was being kidnapped for ransom.
This is so crazy. Like, his tactics for each one is so drastically different.
Yeah. So
like, it's just crazy. He goes from gunpoint to impersonating an officer.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is just, I don't know. This is wild.
Like, the whole, like, him going to parking garages is kind of a repeat thing because when he was a kid, he was stalk women.
Oh,
and
yeah,
a lot of times it would
okay.
be in parking garages.
Okay.
So I guess out where Oregon, it must be like a pretty common thing out there. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that's like kind of repeated. But like, yeah, you're right. It's every time it's something like off the wall. It's like,
yeah, and I wouldn't expect it. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, like he just goes like on a whim each time and like, I'm gonna pretend I'm a cop this time.
Yeah, right. So he's clearly intelligent. Like, he's definitely changing up his plan. Like, if I looked at all 4 of these victims so far, I'd be like, it's probably not even the same guy. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, until they find it and be like, what's with all the car parts?
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And the mutilation where he's cutting off a foot or a breast or something. I don't know.
Brudos then drove towards his home. He parked inside his garage and ordered Saley to follow him across the yard to his home, believing his wife and children were visiting with relatives. At this moment, his wife appeared on the porch to inform him she had prepared the family dinner. In response, Brudos over 10 feet over 10 feet from the porch signaled Saley to stand still. He yelled to his wife he would be in the house in a few minutes to join them at the table for dinner. Then in hesitation, he led Saley back to the garage, where he restrained her with an extension cord. Brudos then entered his home, sat down with family at the dinner table, and ate dinner with his family as nothing was out of the ordinary. Upon returning to the garage, Brudos discovered Saley had freed herself from being tied up, but had made no further efforts to escape the garage. Brudos charged at her and tried to start strangling her with a leather strap. She attempted to resist his efforts at first, but Brudos overpowered her and was able to place the leather strap around her neck from behind and pulled her off her feet, asking the question, "Why are you doing this to me?" So he said that to her.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Saley then began to scratch and kick Brudos as he lifted her from the ground by the leather strap, although she soon became unconscious. Brudos then proceeded to strangle Saley to death as he raped her.
It just keeps getting worse and worse. Oh, like, my God.
It's getting more violent.
Yeah.
Saley's body was then hung by the neck by the same garage pulley as Brudos had his previous 2 victims. He then placed a hypodermic needle into her rib cage beneath each armpit. When he ran an electrical current in effect to shock her body. Disappointed the experiment failed to produce a dancing or seizure-like symptom, but simply singed her flesh at the point of entry. Brudos quickly abandoned this experiment. He kept Saley's body for over 24 hours, engaging in necrophilia, before binding her body to a vehicle's gearbox and discarded her in the Willamette River. Although Brudos created a mold of Saley's breast, he did not mutilate the section of her body as he had with previous victims, as he believed her nipple areolas were too pink.
I literally hate this guy.
Yeah.
And I can't believe he did all this while his wife and kids are home. Like right next on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
This is just insane.
Well, I think the garage was detached from the house.
Oh, okay.
But he I don't put this in here, but this is like fun fact, not really fun, kind of fucked up. But
so fucked up facts.
Yeah, fucked up facts. A little fucked up fact here. He installed like an intercom system from inside the garage to outside the garage. So it was like a speaker box on the outside of the garage, and there was like a passcode or some type of security system where you couldn't open it unless you put like a pin in.
Okay.
And every time his wife wanted to go into the garage, if he was in there, she made her use the intercom system to notify,
like page yourself in.
Yeah,
okay.
to notify
that she was
coming in, and he had to come let her in then.
That makes sense because he thought ahead, obviously.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but yeah, the power is getting to this dude's head, and now he's picking and choosing and critiquing body parts if like they're not good enough to keep as trophies.
Yeah,
sick fuck. On May 10th, 1969, two fishermen discovered what they believed to be a large bundle of something floating beneath the surface of the water in the shallow section of the Long Tom River. Upon closer inspection, they discovered it wasn't just a group of river wildlife, but actually a bound, bloated body of a young woman wrapped in a coat, weighted down by a large gearbox, with copper wire twisting in a manner in which only electrical technicians knew how to do. Okay. And remember, he was in electrical work. The body was identified of that as Linda Saley. Due to the extent of decomposition, a unsuccessive autopsy was able to determine whether she had been raped, although the coroner did rule her death as being due to strangulation. In addition, her autopsy revealed needle marks, remembering, because he's...
Oh, yeah, because the ribcage, yep.
Encircling by burning on each side of a ribcage close to armpit, which had... shown evidence that it had happened after death. 2 days later, an underwater search and recovery unit discovered the body of Karen Sprinker, apparently 20 yards from where Saley's body had been found. Her body was in the same way weighted to the riverbed in the case by a 6-cylinder head engine part, and she had been bound with precisely the same cord and copper wire as Saley's body had been. Sprinker's autopsy determined she had died of either smothering or strangulation, and both her breasts had been severed from her body after death. Although Sprinker was discovered wearing the same green skirt and sweater she had been worn on the day of her disappearance, the size 38D bra upon her body was many sizes too large for her and had been stuffed with brown paper toweling in an apparent effort to simulate a much larger breast size.
It's seriously just... wow.
Yeah, this case is all over the place. The main factors in linking the deaths of Saley and Sprinkers to the same suspect was the fact that both young women had been bound with the same brand of electrical wire and that both had been weighted down in the water with car engine parts.
And it was such a specialized wire, too. He said only, electrical people would know how to use that and stuff, so...
Yeah, and suggesting that the murders have been an electrician or a mechanic.
Or both.
Or both, yeah, in this case. In an effort to trace the origins of the auto parts, several officers questioned employees of all garages and junkyards in western Oregon. No leads were found doing so. Upon formally identifying both women, investigators also began questioning their family members and acquaintances, with again no leads were found. Police started questioning Sprinker's fellow students at Oregon State University, revealing several female students had received phone calls in recent months from a man claiming to be a Vietnam vet who had asked to take them on dates. So some random dudes calling college women saying, "Yo, I'm a Vietnam vet. You want to go on a date with me?"
Please, is this him?
You'll find out.
Oh my god! So he's impersonating an army veteran and a cop. Like, oh my god!
This man had used various aliases. Most all the girls that received this awkward phone call either refused or simply hung up on the phone.
Yeah, I would have hung up too.
However, one had recently taken a degree of pity and allowed the man to take her on a date. She described the man as being Caucasian, in his late 20s or early 30s, slightly overweight, with thinning, blondish red hair and freckles. His vehicle had been a dirty station wagon with kids' clothes in it, leading her to believe he had actually been married. The date itself been a bitter, unpleasant experience.
That's one way to say it.
And Brudos had sensed that the student's increasing unease in his presence. So yes, it was Brudos pretending to be this Vietnam vet.
Of course.
Brudos the whole time making creepy and unusual statements such as, "Think of those two girls were found in the river."
Yeah, what a nice conversation to have over dinner. What a freaking creep.
Yeah. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm gonna go
Yeah,
home
I'm out
now.
I think my cat's calling. Bye.
Yeah, I'm not really into rivers, so I don't really want to go there. Once the date ended, Brudos drove the student home. He had asked her why she changed her mind and agreed to accompany him. She replied, "I was just curious about you and wanted to give you a chance." She probably wanted to say, "You're creepy as fuck." I didn't know this was going to go out this way.
Yeah.
Dinner was disgusting.
She's like, honestly, if I could go back 20 minutes in time.
Yeah. You cheap fuck. You took me to McDonald's and made me order off the 25-cent menu. Brudos creepily replied, "How did you know I wouldn't take you to the river and strangle you?"
What? That's how he ends it?
That's how he ends the date.
Oh, God. She made the right call.
Yeah.
Trust your gut instincts, people.
Yeah. So we're going to go back in time a little bit now. What is coming up is before the date. It's during the time of the murders. Now, Brudos did try to abduct 2 other victims in April of 1969, but both escaped and reported their interactions to authorities. The first of the 2 was a 24-year-old woman, Sharon Wood. She encountered Brudos in the basement stairwell of a parking garage in Portland.
Which those are creepy alone.
Yeah.
Then we have this guy.
Pretending to be a cop.
Of course, yeah, there it is.
In Portland on April 21st, 1969. Wood later recalled feeling someone tapping on her shoulder, only to turn around to find Brudos pointing a pistol in her face and ordering her not to scream.
All right, new fear unlocked.
Yeah. Although Brudos attempted to restrain the young woman with an arm lock, like he's fucking wrestling.
Is he Rey Mysterio or something? Or what the hell? I'm just picturing this overweight guy.
With a Rey Mysterio mask. You better watch out. I'm going to do the 619 on you. Wood fiercely fought him off by both biting and kicking him and twisting his wrist as she attempted to divert the pistol muzzle away from herself and towards Brudos.
Ooh, power move. I like it.
While simultaneously biting deep into Brudos' hand, causing him to slam her head into the concrete floor before fleeing the scene.
So he didn't even check to see if she was...
No.
Okay, he just, dipped.
Yeah.
Okay.
But damn, she a baddie.
Yeah.
Like, you go, girl.
And clearly a black belt or something.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you gonna try to armbar me? Fuck you, bitch.
She's like, you thought. I like it. I'm glad.
Yeah. So, yeah, he ran away, and that was the end of that encounter. The following day, literally the next day, a 15-year-old schoolgirl,
oh God,
Gloria Jean Smith, was forced at gunpoint by Brudos and demanded she followed him to a green Volkswagen. I don't know how to say this car, but I looked it up, and it's fucking hideous.
Man, it checks out for him.
With Brudos informing her, "I want you to come with me. I won't hurt you. I won't rape you."
See, what again? He's saying weird things that would
Yeah.
automatically should put like radars. Like, okay, this guy's weird.
Yeah.
Probably should avoid.
If I run into a stranger and the first thing they say is, "Hey, I ain't gonna hurt you or rape you," I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's your intention.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's only 15.
Yeah, she's a kid. Literally,
Yeah,
the youngest
so-
one we've encountered yet.
He then grabbed the rear of Smith's coat and forced her to come with him. But the young girl outsmarted Brudos by convincing him to let go of her coat while they walked together.
Okay.
When Smith observed a woman working on her front lawn, she yelled and ran towards the woman, causing Brudos to flee the scene.
Okay, so this power move again.
Yeah, so this little girl is hella smart. So, good for both of them getting away. Especially, I mean, both would be horrible, but the 15-year-old.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Now, remember the college girl that went on a date with Creepy Jerry?
How could I forget?
She had no intent to ever go on a date with him again. But investigators told her if he ever tries to contact you again, to contact the investigators before she agrees to another date or meeting up with him again.
So it's all part of a plan.
So it's all part of a plan.
Okay.
The girl agreed with the investigators that she would do so.
But for the greater good, not because it's for her.
Not because she wanted to see Creepy Jerry again.
Yeah.
1 week after discovery of Sally's body on May 18th, Brudos again contacted the young girl that they went on a date earlier. The woman agreed to go out with him once again. So, like, this chick's a badass.
Yeah.
She contacts the investigators and notifies them of the date. Jerry Brudos was intercepted by law enforcement as he walked towards the agreed meeting point for the date and was placed under arrest.
Boom shakalaka.
Yeah. Now, he isn't being placed under arrest because of the murders, because they don't know who did the murders yet.
Okay.
They just arrested him because of the creepy shit he was doing, like calling women and asking to go on a date. And the fact that, like, what she told the investigators, like, about the river and shit. So I wonder if, like, so they're pretty much, like, trying to tie in together everything, and they think they might have a lead.
Okay.
So that's why they did this.
So it's his own mouth that pretty much got him caught by him being a creep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if he never would have said anything, it never would have raised flag. Obviously, she would have like, this dude's creepy. I don't want to go out with him.
Yeah, right.
But I don't think she ever would have like contacted investigators. Like,
yeah, right.
This dude saying stuff about women,
like drowning, like killing me and raping me and stuff. Yeah,
in the same area where you guys found that body, those two bodies. So yeah, Brudos provided police with his correct name, age, and occupation, but gave a false address. I wonder why. Because of all the shit he's got in his garage.
Yeah, you heard about skeletons in your closet. This motherfucker has shit in his garage.
Yeah, for real. With no legal bias to detain him, he was soon released from custody.
Of course.
Although a background check revealed his history of physical and sexual violence towards women, and the search of vehicle database records revealed that he had resided in the district of Portland where Linda Slauson had been seen alive last, and upon discovering Brudos' actual address, investigators discovered he currently resided from just blocks from the department store where Karen Sprinker had been abducted. So they're kind of tying more like...
And they figured out he lied where he lived. Yeah.
Furthermore, although Brudos did not drive that ugly-ass Volkswagen that he, abducted that one chick from, investigators discovered his mother owned such a vehicle and that he had been in possession of the car on April 22nd, the day of the attempt of abducting that young girl, Gloria Smith.
It's all coming together now.
Smith herself identified Brudos as the man who had attempted to abduct her. The information was deemed sufficient probable cause to obtain a search warrant for Brudos' property. 8 days after Brudos' initial arrest on May 26, a search of his property was conducted. Stowed within the garage, authorities discovered a large suitcase of women's lingerie and footwear, a list of phone numbers of the sorority houses and college girls' living quarters, and numerous Polaroid photos of young women, some alive, but most dead.
Oh, God.
Almost all the photographs have been taken with within Brudos' garage, including several depicting photos of a deceased woman hanging from the garage pulley with a mirror laid horizontally upon the floor directly beneath her feet. In one image, the reflection within the mirror depicted Brudos holding his Polaroid camera, indicating he was the one taking the photographs. One of the individuals in these photographs was rapidly identified as Karen Sprinker. She was displayed standing nude, despite high heel shoes on her feet, with a sheer expression, an expression of sheer fear on her face. A severed female breast coated with epoxy was also discovered upon the mantle in the living room.
So he actually brought that into the house.
Which is confusing because wouldn't you think his wife would notice it?
Especially on the man. Yeah, what did you think it was? A snow globe or?
Honey, when did we get the snow globe? Yeah, I thought that was the weirdest thing how he put it in the house.
Unless maybe like she just didn't really put too much attention to it. I'm trying to think like how that would happen, but yeah, maybe she just didn't really put too much attention to it.
Unless it was a den, like back in the 60s, like men had their den where they would do like all their office work. Maybe it was in there and she wasn't allowed in there. Yeah. Obviously the dude was controlling.
Right.
So maybe, but that's just weird that like, I don't know. You think?
Or maybe she was kind of scared to question him too. Who knows? Maybe she noticed it but didn't want to say anything. I don't know.
Yeah. Police also discovered a coil of copper wiring.
There it is.
Determined to be of the same type used to bind the bodies of Linda Saley and Karen Sprinker to engine components prior to their disposal in the Long Tom River. One length of rope found by investigators was tied exactly in the same way to use to bind the victims' bodies. In addition, numerous engine components were scattered and stored around the garage. These discoveries deemed sufficient enough to place Brudos under consistent surveillance.
Not even for arrest.
Nope, they didn't even arrest him.
They're just like, okay, we're just going to watch him.
Yeah, we're just going to watch him. By May 29th, 1969, investigators had gathered significant evidence relating to the abduction attempt on Gloria Smith to arrest Brudos. So they arrested him on just almost a kidnapping charge, not even the murders.
Or the rapes.
Rapes, or nothing. Furthermore, reason for the arrest was to gather more evidence to convict Brudos for the multiple murders in the area. So that was probably their way of getting him in. A warrant went out for Brudos' arrest, and the manhunt began. So they hadn't arrested him, they just put a warrant out to arrest him.
Okay.
He was discovered by highway patrol officers hiding beneath a blanket in the rear of the family station wagon as his wife drove the vehicle towards Portland. The following events, Brudos placed a phone call to his wife asking her to destroy further incriminating evidence, although his wife refused this request.
Okay.
So I looked into it a little deeper. I guess when he asked his wife to like, yo, I need to go back to station wagon, put a blanket over me and drive away. She was like, why? Like, why the fuck do I need
anybody would ask that,
like, why do I need to do this? And his response was like, I'm telling you to do this, and that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was just like, okay. Following the second arrest, Brudos was extensively questioned with regards to developments pertaining to the discoveries within his garage and his connection with regards to the missing and murdered young women, 3 of whom investigators had positively identified as Whitney, Sprinker, and Saley. He quickly denied involvement with any of the cases and denied all the evidence that they had collected from his property.
Even though he's in the photo.
Yeah. He also stated that he was upset and insulted by the investigators, implying he had such a sick, erotic fetish and how interested they were with his physique, closing with the fact that all this impacted his life the last few days in a negative way, and it upsetted him.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Oh, sad boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he denied everything. He denied, well, spoiler, when he finally, like, when he was incarcerated later in his life, He denied it for years and years and years.
Even after the proof,
After the proof and everything, he goes, "I never did that. I never did any of that."
Did he claim he was framed or something?
No, he just said, "I don't know what you guys are talking about. I was not involved with any of this."
So he just played dumb the whole time.
Yeah, he played dumb, and then later on, he kind of started like, "Okay, like it was."
I guess it was me.
I guess it was me. By early June, Brudos had provided investigators with a full confession to all 4 murders. So, like, he confessed, but then when he went into prison, he also...
He, retracted it,
he retracted it.
Okay.
Which he outlined perfectly for police and psychiatrists. He began by outlining the murders of Linda Slauson, whose name he was unable to remember.
Of course, well, because he looked at them like they were nothing.
Yeah. He hadn't been charged, nor did the investigators had known about his involvement with the murder. So they didn't even know he was tied to this. They didn't know anything about this murder. They just knew she was missing. He explained that he never had intent to start killing, but it all started because of the attractive high-heeled shoes the woman had been wearing when she accidentally entered his property to sell the encyclopedias, before outlining each of the sequential murders and attempt abductions. So he was saying, in sense of, like, I never wanted to start murdering.
It's her fault for wearing those shoes.
I never planned to start murdering, but the second I saw her in those shoes, I was like, I'm going to start murdering. It's like, nah, dude. Like, I'm pretty sure you had this in your mind for years.
Oh, yeah.
Back to it, it was never his fault. It was always, everyone else's fault. Although Brudos acknowledged responsibility for his crimes, he remained somewhat hesitant when questioning with regards for reasoning for the premeditated murders, but simply responding, "There must have just been something wrong with me."
Clearly.
Yeah. He denied a hatred of women, but accepted the acts of killing enabled him to let off steam. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. The psychiatrist who examined Brudos concluded he was unable to achieve satisfaction from normal intercourse, and that the overriding motive behind his crime was just lust. Which is like, the psychiatrist kind of seems like an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, how are you just gonna pin all this just on lust? Like, I'm pretty sure there was more wrong with this fucker than just that he was lustful.
And clearly he also had problems as a child, too.
With his mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Photographs Brudos had taken of the 2 of his victims were ultimately matched to the victims discovered in the Longton River. And his description...
I think you said the Wonton River. I'm sorry.
Longton River.
Longton. Okay, sorry.
And his descriptions of Whitney and her abduction matched sufficiently the circumstances surrounding her November 1968 abduction to identify her as his second murder victim. He was appointed by an attorney named Dale Drake, and arranged hearing was scheduled for 9 a.m. on June 4th, 1969. So they're finally, charging him with the murders and setting a court date and blah, blah, blah. Brudos was formally charged with the murders of Whitney, Sprinkler, and Saley on June 4th. In response to a plea of not guilty by reasoning of insanity at his initial arraignment, Brudos was subjected to a laundry list of psych evaluations by several doctors who concluded that he was sane and competent enough to stand trial. As such, Brudos was informed his trial would be held on June 30th. On June 27th, 1969, 3 days before his trial was scheduled to commence, Brudos formally entered a plea of guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder before Marion County Circuit Court Judge Valdez Sloper. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms with possibility of parole.
Of course, he still gets an easy way out.
Yeah. To be served in Oregon State Penitentiary. Brudos repeatedly appealed his conviction, although every appeal was denied.
Good.
Yes.
Some good news at last.
Yeah. In years following his incarceration, Brudos became a model prisoner. Assigned office duties by the 1970s, he later utilized his electrical skills to maintain the prison's computer record system and installed a cable television network in addition to be trusting with stocking, repairing, and maintaining the prison vending machines. As a convicted sex offender, Brudos is known to have engaged in several physical altercations by other inmates, which means he got the shit kicked out of him all the time because he was a sex offender.
And he went after kids. He went after that
Yes.
15-year-old. I'm sure they found out about that.
Yeah. Although in each instance, he refused to name his attackers. He never would this and this.
Because he was probably too scared that they would find out that he ratted them out.
Fuck him up even more.
Yep.
Brudos was also permitted to order mail-ordered catalogs depicting women modeling high-heeled shoes and underwear.
They still let him have that?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. He used this material to fuel his erotic and masturbation fantasies. It's like, probably shouldn't allow him to have that.
No.
Like, I'm just saying, it's probably not
Clearly
a good...
they see that's a trigger for him.
Yeah. But you're going to allow him to have that?
When he's supposed to be punished.
Yeah. So, honestly, it's like he's on vacation, pretty much.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Other than getting the shit beat out of him. But...
He might like it, though. Maybe that's why he never said anything.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, it could be fear, but he also been like, I kind of like this. Hey, you want to put some shoes on before you beat the shit out of me? Brudos attended numerous parole hearings throughout his incarceration. Although the family members of the victims repeatedly attended these scheduled parole hearings in which they requested he remained incarcerated for the duration of his life. He was informed on June 21st, 1995, that he would spend the remaining years of his life in prison. Nevertheless, Brudos continued to attend informal parole hearings every 2 years for the remainder of his life. So every 2 years he was in jail.
Till the very end.
To the very end, he would try to be put on parole, but they denied him every time. So it's like...
I'm honestly surprised he kept trying.
Well,
I would have gave up.
Remember, it's not his fault.
Yeah, that's true.
He never did it. It wasn't his fault.
That's true.
Fucking loser. Most likely a good thing that he was never granted parole, because later on in his incarceration, with an interviewer, the question that was asked, "Do you feel remorse, Jerry? Do you feel sorry for the victims, for the girls who died?" In response, Brudo picked up a section of the paper from the table between the two. He crunched it into a ball, threw the ball on the floor, replying, "That much. I care about those girls as much as I care about that piece of paper on the floor."
What a piece of shit.
Yeah. Here's a little bit of good news. Brudos died of liver cancer.
Oh, that's a painful one, too.
Yeah.
Good news at last.
Well, while incarcerated within the Oregon State Penitentiary.
They denied him treatment.
I don't think they can. I think they have to give him treatment. At 5:10 a.m. on March 28th, 2006.
Wow, I didn't realize we were still...
Mm-hmm.
I assumed this happened all before we were alive, so that's
Yeah.
interesting that we actually lived while he was alive, too.
At the time of his death, he was 67 years old and the longest incarcerated inmate in the Oregon Department of Corrections, having served a total of almost 37 years in prison, which to me doesn't seem like he was behind bars that long enough. Like, he had three life in prisons.
Yeah.
It's like he was only served 37 years. Like, to me, that's not a lifetime.
No.
Like,
and considering how much life he took out of those girls and how long they could have lived.
Yeah.
No.
It's like 37 years. Yeah, it's a long time to think about it, but 67 years, reading that would have felt a little better. I mean, granted, he would have been probably over 100, but still. I mean, he died pretty young, too. He was only 67.
Yeah, that is young.
So, yeah, it would have been nice to read that he was 87 when he died, and he spent his entire life in prison, getting the shit kicked out of him. And
yeah.
Well, that wraps up this case of the infamous shoe fetish slayer, Jerry Brudos. Once again, thank you for joining us on Cheese for Thought podcast. Just so you know, next week we will be off the air. We will be cooking something up in the kitchen for all you ghoulish rebels. So stay tuned. Keep your eyes and ears open for that cheesy dish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty excited for it.
Me too.
You have any questions?
No.
Statements?
I don't want to repeat what's on my mind about this character.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, this is Drew.
And this is Ariel.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.